control group. So at least we know that. If you wanna look in more detail about what studies were in this meta-analysis and what types of intervention they offer to their patients, I highly recommend reading these two studies that I have cited. And one of the things that I want to mention here is that what they found was that more supported intervention, so the types of intervention that have more support in face-to-face. For example, we know CBT has more support than, I don't know, something else for depression. Similar, they have a better effect size in video conferencing too. So for the main part, what is deemed to be evidence-based in face-to-face for depression is also having better outcomes for video conferencing, which is of no surprise. If we're moving to anxiety, and again I'm going to present a meta-analysis, this time it comprised more studies. It has 72 studies and more participants than the last one. Comparing telepsychology with no intervention. So it doesn't compare telepsychology or video conferencing with face-to-face, it compares telepsychology with nothing, which showed a better effect size because of course every time you compare an intervention with nothing you're going to get better results, which is of no surprise, but still this is telling us that this is an intervention or this is a delivery way that is efficient to use. There were very positive effects on, of course, anxiety symptoms, response and recovery from illness, quality of life, and disability. So these are some results that we found from this meta-analysis, which I thought was very useful. And again, we can have this parenthesis that, of course, everything is better than nothing, but you would be surprised that even face-to-face interventions compared to nothing, sometimes they don't do so well. So it's just something, again, to keep in mind. And again, this was a huge study, so for everyone interested in working with anxiety patients in a video conferencing format, I would highly recommend reading that study. It's a huge study and it offers you a lot of details about what interventions, what types of patients, exactly what were the effect sizes for this and that symptom. And it's very interesting to read not only as a practitioner but only as a researcher to see how is the research behind it being conducted. For anger, which is again something that some of you might be focusing on with your patients, I didn't find any meta-analysis yet. This was not an as popular intervention to deliver in an online format, and perhaps we can think about the reasons behind it. But there was at least one randomized clinical trial that focused on that, and they actually had PTSD. They were focusing on PTSD and anger difficulties. I'm going to focus mainly on anger difficulties here. So one of the groups was receiving anger management in a group format in face-to-face, and the other group was receiving the same intervention but in a video conferencing format. And the results did tell us that both groups did significantly similar, and there were no differences between video conferencing and face-to-face. And also, not only from the clinical outcome perspectives, but also from the common factors perspective. So, clinical symptoms, of course, were reduced, but also there were no differences between attrition, adherence, patient satisfaction, and therapy relationship with these patients. So, of course, that's something that is always good to know, and this leads me to discuss in more detail our next topic, which is something that I mentioned before, therapy relationship. And if you were to ask, sorry, I was presenting here a few data about this study. So here what we have is the data behind it, what was happening with the patients in the video conferencing group in terms of a few symptoms that they did investigate. So you can see anger expression, you can see trait anger, And you can see, which I thought was very interesting, that the effect size grew a little bit from post-treatment and follow-up. So actually, which I thought was very interesting and encouraging, the fact that at 3 months follow-up and at 6 months follow-up, not only that the effect size were maintained, but they were a little bit higher. So I thought that was at least interesting and encouraging. Okay. So, as I said, moving into our next topic, which is the therapy alliance or therapy relationship, if I were to ask you right now or before this talk, what is your main concern when working with online? Okay, when working with online patients, probably a lot of you, other than legal or ethical questions, would mention the same thing, which is how am I going to have a relationship with the patient if the patient is not in front of me? And we actually conducted a study, our team, investigating clinicians' attitudes about that, and indeed this was their main concern. How are they going to be able to develop a therapy relationship, also knowing that from a research point of view, therapy relationship is very well connected to the clinical outcomes, and if we don't have a good relationship with our patient, probably we can assume that we won't have very good results with that patient. So what I did was perform a systematic review, and this systematic review was published in 2012. So I'm assuming that in the meantime there were a zillion other studies published, but at the time what I found was that from, again at the time, over 800 studies, only 11% of them did investigate the therapy relationship in an online format. So these, yes, 11%, sorry, 11%. Yeah, that was a typo, that was 11%, yes. So the problem with that was that at the time there were a lot of studies published which investigating online interventions, which were actually not investigating the therapy relationship, although many of them could have done that, because in a video conferencing format you do have what clinicians are complaining that it lacks, which is the visual cues that help you form a therapy relationship. So at the time, that was our main problem, not finding enough studies. However, from the studies we did find, it appeared that the therapy relationship in a video conferencing format is similar to face-to-face. Patients are as satisfied in online formats as they are in face-to-face, and also, as mentioned, similar to what is happening in face-to-face, if you have a good relationship, you probably can assume that you will also have good outcomes. Okay. As I mentioned, there was no meta-analysis at the time. I did want to mention, though, a few RCTs. Two of them, two randomized clinical trials. One was on anxiety and depression. The other one was mainly focused on just anxiety, such as panic and agoraphobia. Both of them had results which indicate that for both conditions, video conferencing and face-to-face, therapy alliance was similar, and the patient's ratings and clinician's ratings, so not only how the patient is viewing the relationship, but also how you as a practitioner are seeing the relationship, were similar and did not have significant differences. I also found a few pilot studies which I thought were worthy to be mentioned. One of them was on web-based family problem solving, and another one was on non-specific symptoms. And a lot of you might say that, yes?
Has there been any research that looked at the therapist qualities, the therapist behaviors as factors in the development or non-development of therapeutic alliance over the years?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that, so I'm going to memorize the question and come back to that later, because I have a few slides and I don't want to go over. So yes, I'm going to come back to that. And again, I wanted to mention the non-specific symptoms, because a lot of you are working with that, and sometimes not every patient that we have in front of us will have a very specific diagnosis. And again, this just being a pilot study, again showed that there are no differences. Okay, so I also wanted to talk about a little bit about integrated care. However, I was very motivated to find studies behind that, as I think this is a very important topic. I did not find any studies to investigate the difference between or even the efficiency of offering a video conferencing approach. I would only say that this is as important of a topic as any of the previously mentioned, and I think if any of you is interested or if any of you is working in such an environment, we can think about a study, or we can at least put together a team to discuss such ideas about how such studies can be done. Okay, so let's move to the next topic.
Actually,
Supervision, yes.
I do have a question. This is a relatively new technology, especially for anybody over 30. Has anybody looked at the Hawthorne effect? The idea that you're working together in this new technology, bringing you closer, even though it has nothing to do with the therapy at all. It's just people feel special with the TV and all this stuff. Has anyone looked at that to see if that could be improving the outcomes?
Not that I'm aware of. But yes, I think this would be very interesting, yes.
But young people don't find it special.
That's
They
very
don't even
true.
know what it is.
They do it all the
Yeah.
time.
That's very true. And it's very worthy of investigating the difference. And there are a few studies actually investigating the age and demographic differences, and we can always come back to that. So for supervision and training, and this is something that you're going to talk in more detail, psychotherapy training via video conferencing is virtually done in pretty much all the psychotherapy approaches, not just CBT, it's a lot of other other approaches. And researchers are reporting high rates of satisfaction and efficiency for such video conferencing approaches. So if we're moving to the next slide, we can see that for supervision, just to give you a few examples, either you are being the supervisor or you're being the person who's being supervised. You have access to webcams, tablet computers. There's even an app. Probably some of you might have heard of that. It's actually very interesting. It's called iSup Live. You can at least check it. I'm not aware of any research behind it, but you can at least check it. Okay, so let's move to our next slide.
Excuse me, how does
Yes.
that count if an internship says face-to-face supervision so many hours?
Yeah, this is a very good question, which I think our next speaker is better able to respond to that. But yes, this is a very good question, and I think a lot of people, or a lot of young psychologists would be interested in perhaps getting supervised in such a way. Okay, so let's see our next slide, and here I just wanted to mention that at this time I found at least 25 clinical studies investigating the efficiency of such online video conferencing approaches. People are trying and are investigating this video conferencing approach for, again, a lot of interventions. One of them, which I thought is worthy of mentioning, was performed by Xavier, and what they were saying, they were also doing supervision and training, but they were doing that in psycho-oncology. What they found was an increase in confidence in assessing such problems, an increase in knowledge in the field, and an increase in effectiveness on how you deal with the problem, which the problem here was managing psychological distress. Also wanted to mention consultation, which for the moment I did not find any studies investigating the efficiency of video conferencing approach, but based on the supervision training, we can assume that there will be a lot of studies coming up next, and we might assume probably very similar results. Okay? For training, I wanted to mention just briefly another meta-analysis of over 200 studies. Just mentioning knowledge outcomes with an effect size of 1. This is a pretty impressive effect size. Also for skills, a high effect size, and for learner behaviors and patient effects, which is pretty much the most important part here, patient effects, when you're being trained online. So again, we have a great effect size. Okay, so if we are going to take a few conclusions at the end of this talk, was apparently there is a lot of data behind it, and there is a lot of research that supports us in our decision to try that. I'm only talking about research here. I'm going to leave the talk about legal or ethical constraints for people who are better able to offer you more detail. But at least from the research perspective, we do have a lot of studies that do say video conferencing is at least as effective as face-to-face is. And if you are interested in developing your practice in that direction, I would always suggest to start with meta-analysis. And then if you don't find that, go to randomized clinical trials, and if you don't find that, at least find a study, any study that says this is effective. And you're going to find a wealth of studies there. I only presented a few topics, depression, anxiety, anger, but you can find a lot of other studies out there depending on what you're interested in. Okay, thank you so much.
So I want to thank Dr. Sabila so much for doing all that work and kind of really addressing some of the basic core issues that we thought maybe people would want to have some support around, and also kind of point you to where you, can you hear me okay? Yeah. Yeah, okay, good. So we wanted to just really highlight kind of the 5 service models, assessment. Do we feel like we can do assessment through video? Yeah. And intervention, do we feel like we have some research behind us if we want to do therapy online? And specifically depression, if someone says, is there any evidence for doing, treating depression through video?
Surprised at how much.
Yeah, surprised at how much?
Yeah.
What about anxiety? Now, what about the Therapeutic Alliance?
No problem.
We feel good? There's a lot of research looking at that.
We make relationships. It's what we do.
Yes.
Humans.
Yes.
If you do psychotherapy with a computer, you will develop a transference relationship. You will want to please it. So if you're going to do that with a computer, you're certainly going to do that with a person on the phone.
Great. So I just want to thank everyone for that piece. I'd like to take a 5-minute stretch break, and then we'll come back and we'll do a live demo. What?
Do I have to do anything to this?
What?
Do I have to turn this off?
Oh, yeah, after I'm done, you'll turn it off for me. We'll do a live demo, so it's going to be a real 5 minutes, so stretch, get some drink, get some yogurt, the locks are gone, and then we'll...
Yeah, which is fine. It's also making me really
Oh yeah. Well,
disconnecting the entire.
I actually feel that